The morning began the way most did, quiet, slow, almost deceptively peaceful. A thin veil of winter fog clung to the windows of my house, softening the edges of everything it touched. The world outside looked muted, half awake. Inside, the radiator hummed, filling the rooms with a gentle warmth that made it hard to believe anything could possibly go wrong. I stood in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, letting the steam rise into my face. There was comfort in these moments, routine, predictable, safe, and yet, even as I breathed in the familiar smell of roasted beans, a strange heaviness lingered in my chest. Why does the quiet feel different today? I brushed the thought aside. Sleep deprivation, maybe. Last night I had tossed and turned, uneasy for reasons I couldn't articulate. Shadows moving against the walls. Footsteps that didn't sound like my own. A door creaking when no one had touched it. Nothing too strange, but enough to plant a seed of discomfort. I tried to shake it off. A soft knock broke the silence. 3 slow taps. I flinched, nearly dropping my mug. No one ever came this early. When I opened the door, he was standing there, Elias.My new tenant. Or, technically, the friend of a friend who needed a place just for a few weeks. Though something about him suggested he carried more luggage than the single duffel bag at his feet. He'd moved in only 3 days ago. Tall, calm, polite. To the point of suspicion, like someone trained to hide every sharp edge. His dark hair was still damp from a shower. He must have been out for a morning run. The cold blush on his cheeks made him look younger, almost soft. But his eyes, those held something else entirely. Morning, he said, voice low, like he didn't want to disturb the quiet. Hey, I managed, stepping aside so he could enter. You're up early. He shrugged. Couldn't sleep. Funny. Me neither. He moved past me, the faint scent of rain and mint trailing behind him. A simple thing, but it pulled at me in a way I didn't understand. Or maybe didn't want to understand. Routine. Calm. Normal, that was what I needed. But every time Elias walked into a room, the air shifted, slightly, subtly, but undeniably. As he sat at the table, rubbing his hands together for warmth, I caught myself staring. Studying the tension in his shoulders, the weariness he tried to hide, the way he kept glancing at the hallway as if expecting something, or someone, to appear. What's wrong? I asked before I could stop myself. He hesitated. Too long. Nothing, he said finally, offering a small, tight smile. Just a weird night. A slow chill crawled up my spine. Me too, I wanted to say, but I didn't. Not yet, because something inside me knew, without logic, without proof, that whatever unsettled him last night was the same thing that had kept me awake. Something was shifting in this house, something we were both pretending not to notice, and it was only a matter of time before the calm shattered. If you want, I can now continue with white heavy checkmark visual prompt for this section. White heavy checkmark story title plus description plus hashtags. White heavy checkmark thumbnail image. Prompt. Just say, continue. The living room felt smaller that night, almost too quiet, too aware. The moment we shared earlier hung in the air like humidity after rain, clinging to everything. I kept replaying it in my mind, the closeness, the breath we almost shared, the line we almost crossed, but now neither of us spoke. I sat at the edge of the couch, pretending to scroll my phone, though I couldn't focus on anything. Every vibration of a notification felt like thunder. My chest felt tight, as though admitting a single thought out loud would make everything collapse. Kyan moved around the kitchen behind me, opening cabinets, shutting them a little too hard, as if he needed noise to drown out whatever was going on in his head. I could hear the tension in the way he exhaled, long and controlled. Finally he walked out, holding 2 mugs of tea. He placed one in front of me without meeting my eyes. Tea, he said quietly. His voice, usually steady, sounded uncertain. That alone was enough to make my heart twist. Ian was never uncertain. Thanks, I murmured. Silence again. Thick. Heavy. He sat on the opposite side of the couch, as far as possible without making it obvious. His knee bounced restlessly, a habit he had when he was trying to hold himself together. You okay? I finally whispered. He hesitated. Yeah. But it sounded like a lie. I stared at him, waiting, hoping he would look up. Hoping he would give me something, anything, to understand what he was feeling, but he didn't. Instead, he cleared his throat and said, "What happened earlier, maybe we should just forget it." The words hit like cold water. Oh, I managed. He rubbed the back of his neck, another nervous habit. I mean, it was just weird timing. Stress. You know how these things go. Yeah, I echoed softly, though it stung far more than I expected. He finally glanced at me, and for a brief second I saw everything he wasn't saying: fear, confusion, guilt, something softer beneath it all. And then he looked away, shutting his expression like a door. I don't want things to be awkward between us, he said. We're fine. Right. Fine, the worst word you can use when something is broken. Yeah, I said again, forcing a smile. We're fine. But we weren't. The air told the truth even if we didn't. He picked up the TV remote and hit play on a random show, pretending to watch it, pretending everything was normal. I sat beside him, pretending the same, but my skin still remembered how close he had been earlier. My mind replayed the hesitation in his breath, the way he froze like he was fighting something inside himself, and now we were acting like strangers trapped in familiar bodies. When the show ended, he stretched and said, a little too casually, I'm gonna sleep. Big day tomorrow. Yeah. Good night. He paused at the hallway, as if waiting for something else to be said, maybe from me, maybe from him. But neither of us spoke. Then he disappeared into his room, shutting the door quietly. The apartment returned to silence, and for the first time since I'd known him, that silence felt like distance. I lay awake for hours, thinking about the moment we shared, the almost. Wondering if he regretted it. Wondering if I should. Wondering why it felt like something shifted permanently between us.B. Why the time dawn crept through the curtains, the tension hadn't eased. It had settled deeper, something had changed, and we both knew it. Conclusion, cliffhanger, 400 to 600 words. The next morning, Ian wasn't in the kitchen like usual. The kettle was cold, untouched. His shoes, normally by the door, were missing. My stomach tightened. I checked the time. He never left early. Ever. A quiet dread spread through me as I walked to his door. I raised my hand to knock, then stopped. For a moment, I wondered if he was avoiding me. If last night had pushed him further away than I realized, but before I could decide, I noticed something. His door was slightly open. I pushed it gently. His room was empty, bed neatly made, his jacket missing, the window slightly open as if he'd rushed out. Only a note lay on the desk, folded once. My pulse quickened. I stepped closer and picked it up, hands trembling. Needed some space. Don't worry about me. I'll be back later. A. The words were simple, but the handwriting was tense, rushed. And the last line, don't worry about me, only made me worry more. So he really was avoiding me. I sat on the edge of his bed, gripping the note. A part of me felt guilty. Another part felt abandoned. And beneath all of it, a small voice whispered that maybe last night meant more than either of us wanted to admit. Hours passed. He didn't return. By evening, the worry had settled like a weight in my chest. I paced the living room, checking my phone every few minutes. Nothing. Not a single message. Then, just as I started imagining the worst, my phone buzzed. A single text from Ian, but it wasn't reassuring. It wasn't casual. It was only 4 words: we need to talk. My heart stopped. Everything that happened yesterday, everything we weren't saying, suddenly felt like it was about to surface. I stared at the screen, breath caught halfway in my chest, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything, and this time, there would be no pretending. If you want, I can continue with white heavy checkmark the full next chapter, white heavy checkmark a darker turn, white heavy checkmark a romantic turn, white heavy checkmark a more dramatic confrontation, white heavy checkmark, or a continuation in script dialogue format. Just tell me what direction you want next. The knock came again, harder this time. A slow, heavy thud that echoed through the apartment like a warning neither of us were ready for. Liam shot up from the couch so fast the cushion bounced, his chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, and he backed toward the hallway, eyes glued to the door as if expecting it to burst open. Don't move, he whispered, but I was already frozen. Another knock, this one softer, almost teasing. The kind of knock someone uses when they know you're scared. The rain outside had turned into a steady roar, smearing the streetlights into blurry streaks of gold. The apartment, usually warm and familiar, now felt like a trap, quiet, dim, tense. The shadows stretched longer, darker, swallowing the corners of the room. I swallowed hard. Liam, is it him? I don't know. But his voice said otherwise. He stepped forward slowly, shoulders tense, jaw clenched, every movement radiated fear and something else, anger, maybe. Or guilt. Something thick enough to feel in the air. Stay behind me, he murmured. His protectiveness should have comforted me, but instead it tightened the knot in my stomach. He wasn't only scared for himself. He was scared for me. The knocking stopped. Silence, rain, our breathing, then a faint scraping sound near the bottom of the door, like someone's fingernail dragging across the wood. I saw Liam's throat bob as he swallowed. Who is it? He called out, voice sharp but trembling at the edges. No answer. Just another slow scrape, longer this time. I swear if this is some kind of joke, Liam started, but the sentence broke in the middle. He sounded small, cornered. I took one step closer to him. Maybe it's not him, I whispered, though even I didn't believe it. Maybe it's just a neighbor. No, Liam shook his head. Neighbors don't knock like that. He does. There it was again, that flicker of shame in his eyes. Guilt. As if he'd brought this danger into our home. As if he'd invited it. Liam, I said quietly, whatever happened tonight, it's not your fault. He looked at me, and for a moment his fear cracked open, revealing something even more vulnerable. You don't know everything, he murmured. A pause long enough to make my skin prickle. Then tell me, I said softly. His jaw tightened. If I tell you, you won't look at me the same. Try me. Before he could respond, the doorknob twitched, not turning, just testing. Liam's breath hitched sharply. He's trying to see if it's unlocked, he whispered. I felt my pulse hammering in my throat. It's locked, right? He didn't answer immediately. Liam, I said again, louder this time, tell me you locked it. I think I did. You think? But I didn't get time to finish the sentence because the knob jerked. Hard, then again, harder. Metal rattled against metal, shaking the entire doorframe. Liam reached out and grabbed my wrist, not roughly, not in panic, but with a desperate steadiness that made my breath catch. We need to go to my room, he said. Now. He pulled me down the hallway, and for once I didn't question him. My heartbeat was too loud, too fast, drowning out everything else. The apartment felt like it was shrinking around us. When we reached his room, he shut the door quietly and pressed his ear against it, listening. The knocking had stopped again, but silence felt worse. Why is this happening? I whispered. Liam looked at me in the dim lamplight, his face pale, shadows cutting across his cheekbones. Because, he said slowly, I didn't tell you the whole truth about tonight. I felt a cold shiver move up my spine. What truth? He rubbed his hands over his face, pacing. He didn't just talk to me. Or follow me. He said things, personal things. Things he shouldn't know. What things? Liam stopped pacing. His shoulders trembled as he exhaled. He said he knew I wasn't being honest with myself. I swallowed. About what? A beat, then, about who I want. My chest tightened and he said I keep pretending I don't feel something for. Liam's voice cracked. Someone I live with. I froze. The room felt too small, too warm, too expectant. He said that. I whispered. Liam didn't look at me at first. When he finally did, his eyes were glassy, conflicted, but certain. He said I look at you the way he looks at me. The air left my lungs. He took a shaky step toward me and I didn't know what to do, he continued. Because I don't want him looking at me like that. But I couldn't tell him he was wrong about the other part. My heartbeat thundered. What other part? I whispered. He closed the distance between us slowly, as if waiting to see if I'd step away. I didn't. That I've been lying, he whispered, not to him, but to myself. My breath caught. Liam, he lifted a trembling hand, stopping just short of touching my face, not touching, not crossing the line, but close enough that I could feel heat radiating between us. You don't understand, he said softly, voice breaking. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to risk anything. But when he said he saw the way I look at you, his chest rose shakily. He wasn't wrong. My throat tightened painfully. I shouldn't feel this way, he whispered. I know I shouldn't. Not about you. My pulse stumbled. Why not? Because you're my roommate, he said. Because you trust me. Because I promised myself I'd never let anything mess up what we have. His hand finally brushed my cheek, just barely, like a question he didn't know how to ask. But I can't pretend anymore, he whispered. Not after tonight. The door of the apartment slammed loudly. We both jolted, footsteps slow, deliberate, walking down the hallway toward Liam's room. Liam's eyes widened with panic. He got in, he whispered. The footsteps stopped right outside the bedroom door, then a soft, chilling whisper through the crack under the door. Liam. I know you're not alone. Liam grabbed my arm, pulling me closer as the doorknob began to turn. Listen to me, he said quickly, voice trembling. If anything happens, the knob jerked violently. There's something I need to tell you first. The door shuddered, something I should have told you a long time ago. Another violent twist of the knob, something about how I feel about you. The door started to open and Liam whispered, I'm not straight, not when it comes to you. The door burst open, the light went out. We were swallowed by darkness. If you want the falling action, 600 to 800 words, next, just say, continue with falling action. I never thought a quiet Tuesday evening could change the way I looked at everything, my home, my roommate, even myself. But that's how these things happen, I guess. Not with a warning. Just a shift in the air, subtle enough to ignore, heavy enough to haunt you. Our apartment sat on the edge of campus, squeezed between two old buildings with chip paint and balconies that looked like they'd collapse if you breathed too hard. Inside, though, it always felt warm, especially when Liam was around. Liam, my straight roommate. At least, that's what I thought. He had one of those easygoing personalities that made people instantly like him, messy hair that somehow always looked good, broad shoulders, relaxed smile. I used to think I was good at hiding the way my eyes lingered a little too long, the way my chest tightened whenever he'd walk out of the bathroom with steam still clinging to his skin. But that evening, everything felt off. The apartment was too quiet. No music, no soft humming from the kitchen, none of Liam's usual noises that filled the space and made it feel less lonely. The rain tapped against the window like restless fingers, and the faint smell of his cologne still hung in the living room, just enough to make me aware of his absence. Where is he? He never stayed out this late on a weekday. I tried to distract myself, opened my laptop, started typing half-hearted notes for a class I'd already skipped twice. But the feeling didn't go away. The silence felt unnatural, like the air was waiting for something to happen. Around 11, I heard footsteps outside the door. Slow. Uneven. Then a slight pause, like whoever was out there was hesitating. My heartbeat stuttered as the knob turned. When the door finally swung open, Liam stepped inside, drenched from the rain, breathing harder than he should have been. His shirt clung to his body, his hair plastered to his forehead, his eyes, God, his eyes, were wide, almost shaky. I'd never seen him like that. Liam? I asked, standing without knowing why. He didn't answer. He just stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Something between fear and relief. Something intimate. Something dangerous. Then I noticed it, a faint red mark on his neck. Fresh. Like someone had grabbed him. Or kissed him. Or God knows what. My stomach tightened. Are you okay? What happened? He swallowed, stepped closer, and the door clicked shut behind him. The sound echoed through the quiet apartment like a warning. I need to tell you something, he said, voice low, trembling. But you're not going to believe me. My breath caught, because in that moment, standing there, soaked and staring at me like I was the only person in the world he could go to, I realized something was very, very wrong, and whatever he was about to say, I wasn't sure I was ready for it. What happened to him out there, and why did he look at me like that? If you want, I can continue with the rising action, 1,200 to 1,500 words, next, just say, continue. He looked up, finally, and there was something raw in his eyes. Vulnerability wasn't something I associated with him. He was always the calm one between us, the one who brushed off stress with a joke or a lazy grin. But now? He looked cornered. I'll explain, he said, just give me a minute. He walked past me, heading toward his room. I followed silently, feeling a strange unease settle in the pit of my stomach. Not fear, exactly. More like anticipation wrapped in dread. Like something was shifting, and I wasn't sure which way it would fall. When he reached his bedroom door, he paused. You didn't see anyone outside, right? His voice was too steady, forced. No, I said slowly. Why? He didn't answer. Instead, he slipped into his room and closed the door behind him, not fully, just enough to create a narrow gap. I could hear him moving inside, peeling off his wet shirt, tossing it onto the floor. The lamp clicked on, spilling warm yellow light into the hallway. Something happened out there. I could feel it like static in the air, and it wasn't something small. I went back to the living room, pacing in slow, anxious strides. Everything felt off, the shadows on the walls, the flickering street lamp outside, even the rhythm of the rain. A sense of wrongness crawled under my skin. 10 minutes later, his door opened again. Liam stood there now in dry clothes, an old black hoodie and grey sweatpants, but his expression hadn't softened. If anything, he looked more troubled. He hesitated before walking over and sinking into the couch beside me. Not close, but not far enough. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For worrying you. It's fine, I said. Just talk to me. He exhaled sharply, rubbed his forehead, then looked directly at me. I think someone followed me. My stomach dropped. Followed you? From where? He hesitated, and that hesitation said more than any words could have. I went somewhere I shouldn't have gone, he admitted. I blinked at him, waiting for him to continue, but he didn't. He avoided my eyes, staring instead at the floor, at his hands, at anything but me. And that was strange. Liam always held eye contact, even when he was lying, even when he was annoyed, even when he was nervous. But now he couldn't. You're scaring me, I said softly. I'm scaring myself, he whispered. The room felt colder suddenly. What were you doing tonight? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again then, finally. Do you remember that cafe near 5th Street? The one with the broken neon sign? Yeah. Why? I wasn't planning to go there, but I got this text from, he stopped abruptly, choosing his words carefully. From someone I met a few days ago. My heartbeat quickened. You met someone? He nodded, jaw tightening. At the gym. I didn't know why that stung. It shouldn't have. But it did. He continued, he seemed friendly. Talked a lot. Asked more questions than normal. He shook his head. Too many questions, actually. What kind of questions? Personal ones. He glanced at me. Stuff about who I live with, where I hang out, whether I'm straight. The last word hung in the air like a loaded secret, and you answered. Not really. I dodged most of them. But he kept talking to me. Kept trying to hang out. Liam's fingers curled tightly around the edge of the couch cushion. So when he texted me tonight saying he needed to talk, I don't know. I went. Why? I couldn't help asking. He looked at me then, long enough that I had to look away first. I guess I was curious, he said quietly. Or maybe trying to prove something to myself. The words lingered, heavy and confusing. Prove what, to who? But before I could ask, he continued, when I got there, the place was empty. He was sitting in the back, acting weird. Nervous. Kept checking the door. What did he want? Liam swallowed. He asked me a question. Something that. I don't know. Something that freaked me out. What did he ask? Liam hesitated again, shifting uncomfortably. He asked if I'd ever wondered what it'd be like to kiss another guy. The air left my lungs. That wasn't a question you asked a stranger, not without a reason, not without intent. And then I asked, my voice barely there. I laughed, he said. At first. But then he grabbed my wrist. Hard. He lifted his sleeve, showing a faint red mark that hadn't been there earlier. He said he could tell when someone was pretending. That I had a look in my eyes. A cold wave ran down my spine. What look? His gaze flickered for a moment, one you'd probably recognize, he whispered. My pulse stumbled. Before I could process his words, he continued. I pulled away. Told him he was imagining things. But he wouldn't let it go. He kept saying I wasn't as straight as I thought. That guys like me always break eventually. That's messed up, I said, anger rising. He shouldn't say stuff like that, especially if you're uncomfortable. Liam nodded, but his mind seemed elsewhere. That's not the worst part. My breath caught. There was more. What else happened? He stood up and told me that if I wasn't ready to admit what I wanted, someone else would force it out of me. A shaky breath escaped him. Then he stepped closer. Too close. How close? Liam looked at me, not confused, not surprised, but like he was studying my reaction, close enough that I could feel him breathing on my neck. My throat tightened, and then I asked, my voice cracking. I pushed him away. He said, hard. He hit the table behind him. But instead of getting angry, he smiled. Liam's jaw clenched. Like he knew something. What did he say? He told me I wasn't pushing him away because I wasn't interested. Liam's voice lowered, becoming almost a whisper. He said I was pushing him away because I didn't want anyone to find out. Silence, thick, suffocating, and then I pressed. Liam stared toward the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. He told me he'd been watching me. A chill ran through me. Watching you? How? He said he'd seen me leaving the apartment. Coming back. Said he knew when you were home and when you weren't. Liam's eyes darkened. He even knew what color hoodie I wore last week. That's obsessive, Liam finished. I know. Did he follow you after you left? I think so, he said. I kept hearing footsteps behind me on the way back, but every time I turned around, no one was there. A knot formed in my stomach. But why come back here? I asked gently. If you thought someone was following you, shouldn't you have gone somewhere safer? He looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment, the whole room felt still. This is the only place I feel safe, he whispered. The words hit harder than they should have, more personal, more intimate. And you, he added softly, eyes lowering to my hands, you're the only person I trust right now. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure he could hear it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The space between us felt charged, like something unspoken was hanging in the air, heavy and waiting. Then he exhaled shakily, there's something else I need to tell you. I froze. His hand moved, slowly, toward mine, stopping just short of touching. I didn't go there just because he asked, he said. I went because I needed to know something about myself. My breath hitched. What did you need to know? I whispered. He closed his eyes, pain flickering across his face. Whether he was right, he said. Whether I've been lying to myself. The room tilted slightly, like gravity had changed. What do you mean? I asked, barely breathing. Liam opened his eyes, direct, intense, unguarded in a way I had never seen before. I mean, he said slowly, I needed to know why it bothered me so much when he said I wasn't straight. The words hit like a shockwave. I swallowed hard. Why did it bother you? I asked. He held my gaze, because I think part of me was scared he'd noticed something I haven't been ready to admit. My pulse pounded in my ears. Like what? Liam leaned closer, not touching, not crossing the line, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath. Like maybe he saw the way I look at someone I shouldn't, he whispered. The air disappeared from my lungs. Someone he shouldn't, someone close, someone here. Before I could respond, there was a loud, sudden knock at the door. We both froze, once, twice, slow. Deliberate. Liam's face went pale. He followed me. He whispered, if you want the climactic moment, 800 to 1,200 words, next, just say, continue with the climax. Understood. Here is your rising action, 1,200 to 1,500 words, written in the same dramatic, suspenseful, intimate tone as the introduction. It sets up the scene, builds the routine atmosphere, deepens character dynamics, and gradually escalates tension, taboo hints, and emotional conflict, while remaining safe and non-explicit. Darkness swallowed the room so completely that for a moment, I couldn't tell where Liam ended and the shadows began. My pulse thudded in my ears, drowning out everything except the soft sound of his breathing, uneven, shaky, too close. A faint beam of light leaked through the hallway, just enough to outline the shape of someone standing in the doorway, not moving, not speaking, just watching. The air thickened, the kind that presses against your chest and steals your breath. Liam's grip tightened on my arm, strong, almost desperate. His fingers trembled, but he didn't pull away. If anything, he stepped closer, like instinct told him I was the thing anchoring him to the ground. I wasn't sure if that terrified me or warned me. The figure in the doorway shifted slightly, and the floor creaked beneath their shoe. That small movement felt louder than thunder in the suffocating silence. Liam, The voice whispered, not angry, not loud, just wrong, too calm. Liam stiffened, breath catching in his throat. He didn't answer. The silence stretched until it became painful. Then the figure took one slow step into the room. Liam reacted instantly. His hand left my arm and pressed against my chest, pushing me gently but firmly backward until I felt the wall behind me. Not rough. Not panicked. Protective. Even in the dark, I could feel the heat radiating off him, the tension vibrating under his skin. Don't come any closer, Liam said, trying, and failing, to keep his voice steady. A soft laugh floated through the darkness, not loud and not cruel, but chilling in its confidence. I knew it, the stranger whispered. You're different around him. Liam inhaled sharply through his nose. Shut up. But the stranger didn't. You weren't scared when I touched you earlier, he said. You were scared of what it meant. A shiver ran down my spine. Liam's breathing turned ragged, and I could almost feel the self-loathing ripple through him. The stranger wasn't just threatening him, he was peeling back layers Liam had tried desperately to hide, layers I wasn't supposed to see. Not like this. Another slow step forward. Liam tensed to move, but the voice cut him off. You didn't run because you hated what I said. You ran because you hated that I was right. Liam whispered something under his breath, too soft for me to catch, but full of pain. I swallowed hard and finally spoke. Get out, I said, though my voice betrayed how scared I was. Just leave. The stranger shifted toward me. I couldn't see his face, but I felt his eyes, cold, studying, dissecting. So you're the reason he's confused, he murmured. The reason he keeps lying to himself. My heartbeat crashed inside my chest. Don't talk to him, Liam snapped. This is between you and me. The stranger laughed again, soft, unsettling. It's always been between the three of us. You just didn't notice. A chill traveled down my spine. What do you want? Liam asked. Silence. Then, I wanted you to admit it, the stranger said softly. But you're still hiding. Liam swallowed, the sound loud in the dark. And now, he asked. Now, the stranger said, I just want to see what you choose. A cold gust of wind swept through the room as the stranger turned slightly, toward the hallway, toward the exit. But he hesitated, glancing back into the darkness. You know what you feel, Liam, he whispered. And so does he. My breath caught, and then the stranger stepped back into the hallway. A few footsteps. A faint click, the apartment door closing, then silence, total silence. The tension lingered in the air like smoke after a fire, thick, acrid, impossible to breathe. I let out a long, shaky breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. The dim light of the hallway drifted into the bedroom again, revealing Liam's outline, rigid, head lowered, hands clenched at his sides. He didn't move. He didn't speak for a moment. It felt like he wasn't even breathing. Liam, I whispered. He didn't look up. His voice was quiet, broken around the edges. I should have told you sooner, he said. Before all of this. Before he twisted everything. You didn't do anything wrong, I said. Liam let out a hollow laugh. You heard him. You heard what he said. I stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching a wounded animal. He didn't pull away this time. He said what he wanted to believe. I told him. His voice cracked. What if he wasn't wrong? My breath faltered. What if, Liam whispered, finally lifting his eyes to mine, I feel something I'm not supposed to. A heavy pause settled between us, dangerous, tender, terrifying, something for you. The words hung in the air, fragile as glass. I couldn't answer. Not yet, not when everything was still shaking. Liam looked down, swallowing hard. I didn't want you to find out this way. A distant sound echoed from the hallway. A soft tap. A creak. We both turned. Was he really gone, or was he still there, listening? The tension returned, thick and suffocating, and just like that, nothing was resolved and nothing was safe and nothing was the same. If you want the conclusion, cliffhanger, 400 to 600 words. Next, just say, continue with the conclusion.